happened. And a lot of these stories come from time before.
WILLY FRENCHEATER here.
Which is a long time ago. Time before we remember.
Fight and die for Indigenous people.
Close of the
It's Daffisons and our Okas of the last millennium.
Some of them.
He's killing our rights.
Some of them.
Our children.
Would be when they were
under surveillance.
They
gave tobacco.
Of humanity.
The war years. All those warriors.
Continents and countries before we separated. Well, some of them started there. Most of them are really close. I don't know what the protocol is at the end of the world. One of the stories.
All fucked up on the end of the world.
The modernization of thought, the modernization.
It's the human story. It's not, my story or her story. It's not the story of one group of people. It's a story of mass humanity.
Welcome to Co-op Radio 102.7 FM. This is Indigenous Resistance Today. I'm your host, Lisa Bell Walking, and with co-host Jim David.
On its travels, on its travails across space and time. It's a short story because all time is short.
I don't think the Oka resolutions will ever be resolved.
Why not?
But situations like Oka is about who owns the damn land, right? And who's the visitor here. Like Okas will, I foresee a revolution where Okas will sprout up all over the place. Whether you do anything about the native situation, the Indian problem, or whether you do anything for it. However it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So it's no big deal. Oka is great. It's great. It's a great show of force. The warrior blood, the warrior blood boils ever bubbly and hot in the DNA of the savage and the heathen. And like all of us, our savagery is obviously our heathenism and savagery. It's our only redemption. That's why we have Okas. And I hope we have 1,000 more. For 1,000 years. Pagans unite. Tribalism is the way to go. Tribalist, paganist societies. Do you agree? Do you agree with me?
In relation to the other half of the altar, which is like the spiritual.
Our film was native, super constant. That's the name. We went to Alberta. We went down there and we got that name. We get tobacco.
No, but what's interesting is how long the Indian resistance movement has been going on. Although it has never stopped, but through much force and really genocidal tactics, they were totally suppressing that Indian resistance.
Savages. You fuckers fucked Marcos. You fucked the Zapatistas. Lasagna.
Killed when they were having the occupation, they were killed after. In very violent ways.
Governments
Shot in the head.
To screw up our websites. Think that that's going to stop us. That's going to stop. Provocateurs and saboteurs and terrorists ever since 1990. Now you say Osama bin Laden.
I'm a watcher. I'm the observer. I watch people and the spirit that they're in, the feelings that they have, and the paths that they walk. And it's really wonderful for me to be participating here at camp, the only one in Canada right at this time that's still pretty active. I think that's, you should be recommended for being here. I really believe that. I got a phone call from a friend of mine in Ottawa this morning, and he was telling me like he traveled across to Oka. He was involved in Oka, and then he's just on his way back pretty soon. And he said that Vancouver has got the strongest support across the country. And for the sisters that were here earlier, they were talking about their experience at Oka. It was really important that I hear them and I see them, and of course it was for you too. Because through them, through their connection and through their talking, their words and their feelings, you're able to connect. The spirit isn't here.
Tonight uptown, special news report. Willie Freencheater, militant activist, whose website is repeatedly attacked. Freencheater is of Métis descent, 195 pounds, 6 feet 2 inches tall, and has 2 scars on her. Anyone citing him is to call the RCMP immediately.
Canada's spy agency tracked him near Mission, British Columbia, whereupon he eluded capture along the Harrison River area. Freencheater is considered armed and dangerous.
In the event that I was the Attorney General or in a position of authority and they came around with their guns and their arms and they either threatened people with them or they used them on people, that I would see to it that they were shot.
They have blocked the access coming in from Route 138 at St. Francis. That's coming out of Chateauguay at the railroad tracks on the east side, Route 132, and even coming in from St. Isidore. So there's no access at all the perimeters of the Ganawaki Reserve. Armed groups of warrior members have blockaded the road with pickup trucks and in some cases large dump trucks as well. Municipal police at this point are merely reinforcing those barricades by setting up blockades in the road.
They didn't handle the Oka Crisis very well.
Do you feel the Oka Crisis is resolved?
Oh, no, I don't.
Well, I appreciate your time in the matter very much.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye. Hope I'm not going to see myself on TV tonight.
How do you feel about the rights of the conqueror? How do you feel about the rights of the conqueror? How do you feel about the politics of the everyday, sir? You have a minute, sir. How do you feel about native culture of Canadians? How do you feel about the rights of the conqueror? Maybe I'm being a bit too rough when I try to understand the individual's relationship to Canadian culture, native culture, but nevertheless, the politics of the everyday defines the need and the immediacy of the individual.
It's going to happen again in other places. It's going to happen out west, it's going to happen in east.
Between the native and non-native people?
From where I come from, we just had a march down there and stuff in
Halifax.
Yeah, it's all about the land always being ruined and stuff like that, eh? You gotta take action. You gotta take action, because if you don't take action, what's gonna happen? All the big shots up on this hill here are just gonna turn themselves away and say, oh, what the f***, I'm going out to Alberta. I'm going out to see Milton Bourne with it too. The guy that went to the dam there.
The pagan band.
Yeah. I'm gonna help him in whatever way I can. to stop what he wants stopped.
So would that mean like taking up arms again if it's necessary?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. That's what I will do.
Okay, Sonny.
You ever heard of my aunt? You ever hear of Anna Mae Ecklosh? That's my aunt. She worked for the American Indian movement. She was shot in the head in '76 by the FBI.
What tribe are you from? I'm from the Miigweech tribe of Nova Scotia, Canada. Would you describe what happened to you this past Friday morning on the Rosebush Reservation? Awakened around 5 in the morning by someone. They were the FBI, and that I should immediately come out, and I was in bed and I just heard a lot of voices all around, and then I heard someone say, let's just cut open the tent, you know, and I was trying to get out of bed and over at the door before they started cutting the tent, and when I walked out I saw 2 FBI agents standing there with M16s and pistols.
Will it time that it's time that we start to really question our value of how we think and how we rationalize the city and the land? The opiates define their relationship to
I bring you greetings in Mohawk, the language of my ancestors, the language of my children and my grandchildren. I feel very privileged to be here. I'm a vet from Oka, and it was everything that I know of the Gustafson Lake
destruction of society.
Crisis is very similar to the Mohawk crisis in 1990. I can see all the similarities, and I can see that the same tactics are being used on everybody, on all of us. And they haven't come up with anything new yet, except I think now they're ready to not, they can manufacture the consent very quickly to get the public to go along with the slaughter. Today, with the rise of hate groups, with the bashing of Aboriginal people in the media, when something comes up and we need to defend ourselves, it's very hard for the general public, the mainstream public, to believe us when they see a brown face on the television. Right away they turn off because they've already been conditioned to turn off. They're not going to listen to us. And because we're terrorists, we're renegades, we're racketeers. There's so much bashing going on that it's almost impossible for us right now to get any kind of sympathy from the Canadian public. And the Department of Indian Affairs recently did a survey, and there is backlash against Native people. And that's all. That follows on the heels of the bashing that's been done in the media. We have to go to the alternate media or our own. The young Indian people have to start developing the media and start getting the word out in our own way. We do it through faxes, we do it through internet, personal phone calls, our own newspapers, our own videos. And I think that with the conglomerates taking over all the media, we're going to have to do more and more of that. We have a lot of commonalities here, and I guess the one of the things that I'm very much afraid of is that the powers that be, that's the Canadian government and their bosses, the financiers and the transnational corporations, have decided that the solution is a military solution. As soon as something happens, they throw the army at us. How do we defend ourselves from that? How do we stand up to that? That's the question I ask you. After the Mohawk crisis, and after we went through all these trials and court cases, I'm still in cases. It's already almost 7 years after the crisis, and I'm still involved in a court case. I was criminally charged, and we were, 50 of us were on trial. You know, there was a year-long court cases. The first one was 6 months, and the next one was 5 months. It wasn't very easy because we had no income. We had, you know, our economy was totally devastated, but we got through it because what we did was the right thing. What the Great Law tells us is that when you pursue something that's right, you have to pursue it until you win. And if you know the Great Law, you know that's the basis of our fight. One of the people said after I explained the imperial instruments that confirm our sovereignty and our self-government as being from time immemorial, which therefore supersedes the Canadian government and all the provincial governments. And so therefore our government was here first, and that we don't have to go around begging for self-government from anybody. We've got it already. So after explaining the historical aspects and the legal aspects, this man got up and said, well, he says, you've got the law on your side, you've got history on your side, you've got morality on your side, but you don't have the fact. And I said, what fact are you talking about? He said, might is right.
Systems are appreciated, it's extensive, cross-based, and raw.
Someone just told me to go home. So how do I feel that the Oka solution is resolved right over here? 2 years ago today, there is racism in Canadian society, and I feel that I don't need this, and I think the Canadian public should be aware that there are racist people that want the Indians out of their land. So, what can I say? Oka is alive and well. Conscious of Canadians, Mohawks, the Indigenous people, and we'll soon see who will go home in the long run.
Military fatigues constantly reported massive police buildups. Finally, in the afternoon, this Mohawk spokeswoman emerged to say a Quebec cabinet minister was coming in for a meeting. She said the Indians have one main demand.
The obvious thing is respect of our native people here in their lives. And that their safety is ensured. Because we haven't done anything here. We're fighting for our land. It's an honorable cause. And on to fight for our rights. That's this one for the land. It's very it's going to try to make us into criminals. Native leaders were it's the support from across the country and around the world that kept us alive. And that's the bottom line. Because it was not the army, it was not the Canadian government, it was not the Quebec government.
Policeman followed me over here.
They kept us going in there and kept the army from walking in and massacring the Mohawk people. On July 11th, the women were doing a tobacco ceremony. 100 SQ came in with every intention of massacring those people, because at the bottom of the hill there was not paddy wagons, there was ambulances and body bags waiting for those people. It's not something new to the Mohawk people to demand sovereignty. Their great law has been in place since way before the white people ever came to this country. The Haudenosaunee people have been a very strong people. We have to remember the lack of integrity of the Canadian government and the Quebec government when you go to the polls next time around. You have to remember their lack of goodwill in negotiating.
Just curious as to what you might be doing with some of this money. You say you're making a film, yet do you have something to show for that?
Yeah, I got stories to show. I can sit all night here and talk to you about the many stories I met. All up here, you think I got to carry a camera around wherever?
Yeah, well, it's good to have it up here. I mean, that's where all ideas are born in the head, but what people are interested in is results. People want to see what you're doing. People would like some footage, perhaps, or a short teaser, or something with some sound, or still photography, perhaps.
Why can't I have it up here? Why can't it be an oral story? Why can't it be just an experience of dealing with the culture that we have that is put on us, that gives us cameras and gives us microphones and gives us drugs and gives us guitars? People's language, their history, and their voice, and their eyes, and their ears, and their skin away, and gives them alcohol, gives them abuse of priests, and gives them abuse of teachers, and everything else out of the apparatuses put on us. Well, he's not going to be much of a negative person. He's going to be very sick. He's going to be very he's going to be in denial of what he is as a man or a woman or a child.
Today is another process where we're removing the Canadian First Nation people to Philippines. Today to talk about tradition. Over the past 5 years, I began research on genealogy of my people. I know that many of my people from Yakapuya ran to Yakutat, Alaska to escape the tyranny of colonialists. The elders had asked that I spend some time with our people because I was coming in from nowhere, like I am here today, coming in from nowhere. You people don't know who I am. I ended up spending 5 months there. My stay there has affected my life forever. I heard traditional history. We shared in trades such as drying fish, smoking fish, and canning strawberries. There has got to be a different process going on because you possess title. And Canada, like the United States, has never perfected title. This is something that the First Nation people have to understand, that if you do not have a perfected title, they cannot have an Aboriginal claim on you. We have a right to act as a nation, and we have a right to act further and enforce those nation statuses that we have.
As you know, according to your federal statistics, more than 60% of all of our people are 25 and under. 60%. That's more than 6 out of 10 people. And they're all in jail. And they're all in foster homes. And they're all living on the streets. And they can't afford to get $500 a day to come up here and negotiate with you guys. We're struggling to survive. It's still the same, and you people know that. You people know how those systems are affecting us. You do so many studies on us. And you do this, and you negotiate with our leaders. Do they come down? Do any of you guys come down and talk to us? It doesn't happen. We're here. And what do you think when all of these people that are under 25, what do you think they're going to do when they're 30? And when they're 40? We're the biggest rising demographic group in Canada. And you have to deal with us as young people. As far as this treaty negotiations go, I recognize that our Nisga'a brothers and some of our own members are Nisga'a, and they recognize the negotiators have been struggling for a long time. We recognize that. But we also recognize one thing, that all of our Indian leaders, what they fight for is a Garin case, or for the fiduciary trust obligation means consultation. But what does consultation mean when 60% of our people aren't consulted with? I want all of our young people to stand up for a second here.
You look like you could be part of the resistance.
I am the resistance.
I mean, Sam has done the same thing. Where is it going to get us? By withholding information, it is called disinformation as far as I'm concerned. I know. All I want to do is change the format for today. They're taking down the barricades. And I would appreciate it if we could have our own point of view viewed on air. It is public radio, isn't it? It's community radio, isn't it? We are a part of the community, are we not? All I want to do is change the format for today. Air the footage that I've been given. I assure you that I've taken great lengths to edit the video in a manner that is most diplomatic and fits the mandate that you have at the station. I realize that it's very important that I get a hold of this person, and I would also like to be able to speak to the public, asking them where he is, Willie Frencheater.
Hear about a couple of natives that really don't give a shit anymore about what happens. You want to hear about a couple of natives that aren't here anymore because they tried to give a shit of what happens and they ended up not being here. We got a white dune, we got a horse fall. What are you looking at? So what are you looking at?
That's just the way I believe, that anybody who goes around with a gun in our society threatening another person or using it on another person ought to have a bullet put into him. With respect to the statement of a bullet in the head, I did make that statement. I told him that I never met anybody yet that had a bullet in their head that bothered anybody with a gun again.
I was thinking
this is all part of the same standard stuff that we're going through with respect to the American Indian movement.
Place, right? Yeah. And the next American cruise ship that comes in. Now send a place in Americana. Goodbye. What do you think of that?
That's funny.
That'll be a good response to the Oka situation, you think?
I really don't think that would be making much of a statement on behalf of the native people.
Sure it is. That shows that we're prepared to take action. We're prepared to deconstruct the affirmative culture, literally deconstruct it from how they construct it up. We'll deconstruct it with their plastics. You know, they say there's big money in plastics. Well, we'll reify their statement by making them put more money into the fucking thing that they have to build by using plastics to fucking blow them up. Created.
Well, you're not a terrorist.
Terrorism created the fucking United States. The fucking 13 colonies terrorized the fucking king and queens of fucking England, whoever they were, because I wasn't there. And they took the land away from the English after the English took it away from the Indians. And lo and behold, we got a fucking eagle representing this, just the biggest country in the fucking world. How spiritually connected. Let's get that ego plasticized into the syntax. Okay. I'm losing it, but I might as well lose it big. Hey, I know my connections. Right? I know the Mohawks will help me out. The people at Akwesasne down Cornwall, all those people, you know, we're connected. You know, that's why I travel. That's why I call you from the middle fucking there and let me know what I'm doing. And it's either the Indians are with me or against me. So are you going to back me up or are you against me? You know, if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. I'll just do another long statistic. I'll just pull my plug and visit my married brothers and sisters that died, becoming a percentage of the fucking Canadian and American government. Out of here. I might call you if I'm in China or Japan, maybe, okay? They do that. Yeah, I will. Bye.
We're around at Shibuya Station area. station over here. I wonder what it's about. Nevertheless, the people are very friendly and courteous to moi and moi. As I was here the other night, it is a fabulous, exciting, vibrant, cosmopolitan square of Tokyo, Japan. With all colors, all races, all nationalities come here in order to deal with trying to make a living in a very capitalist-oriented society. Shibuya Station, ladies and gentlemen, eat your heart out. This is where capitalism is at its utmost.
Reducerea prerogativelor, autonomiei sale regionale. Vreau ca Muntenegru să devină o țară de...
You damn roost of war, buddy. A roost of war.
Willie,
Roost of war.
you'd fuck a machine one day just to piss off a white.
You expect the white boys to listen, you.
You know what? Fuck you, Willie. If we kissed their ass, then they'd listen. But no, not us. We're gonna go where no other fucking Indians have gone before.
Right. I'll get the money, you get the bang. The big bang Indian style, Sebastian. Give up about that.
Ilana, Willie.
You get the money, I'll get the Semtex. Just hang on a second. I've got the clan mother on the line. Ah, me and the snubby quay.
At the second attack, the place is where it's where the north and south meet from the island of Man. One of the things that said on that panel too was like it is written.
It is written. How do you mean by that?
So much of Manhattan was covered with cement.
I don't know. It's like yesterday when that happened, you know, the telephone call.
The spirits of our ancestors can't be released.
A telephone call?
That's where it all started, right? The Mohawks, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning doing the tobacco ceremony. And the SQ come in with tear gas and chainsaws. People looking down the barrel of a gun. I had a dream last night. I was in a couple rooms. I was with my loved one, with some people I knew. And I was marred by this manure area where I was looking for spiritual guidance and praying for the Creator to help me. And I got sucked into this manure, just pulled right, whether it was a nightmare, I was just pulled right into it. Almost falling back, getting sucked back into the evil that this world produces through the excremental culture, where it consumes and produces consistently over and over again. It's like taking the bottom of the script and eventually it gets to the top. It goes around and keeps going, all these sort of reinterpreting man's relationship to the world that they live in.
Is considered armed and dangerous.
Why in the hell did you do that? Have you crossed over or what? I'm changing the format. We're doing a spot on Willie Frentcheater. Everything's in place. Nothing can stop us now.
It's old news. Get used to it. It's him. Ever since you've been receiving those tapes. Back in your life.
It's always been between you and everything else. I'm going on here.
Sorry, what can I say?
But let me tell you something. That guy is no good. At least I'm doing something with my life. He's flying, partying.
Sam, stop it. I'm going on air.
Right? Perhaps I'm wrong. You can feel sorry for the guy. Check out his site, his cause.
How people change. He's your friend. He's my daughter's father.
Key word here is was, Lisa, was. He treated me, you like shit. I got what I wanted from him. Life goes on.
Prophet, just go. Go. Just go.
I'm doing something with my life. What's he doing?
Welcome to Co-op Radio 102.7 FM. This is Indigenous Resistance Today. I'm your host, Lisa Bell Walking, and with co-host Jim David.
The Mohawk people of the Kanesatake Nation have issued a plea for the support of the Haudenosaunee people. Barricades are up in retaliation to town plans to build a golf course. The barricades are manned by the elders, the women, and children alike. Negotiations regarding the Haudenosaunee people
and the government developed into stalled meetings and non-committing dialogue. Thanks, Jim. Straight from the source, there it was. A 1990 fax, which soared around the globe. Willie Frentcheater's video continues that journey. Now, in the new millennium, nothing has changed. What exactly is the Indian problem? I personally don't have a problem, as I'm from the Concordia Nation.
Yeah, and I'm a Cree, so feel free with the Cree. As for your callers, you should know that all we want is your involvement, so call Co-op 102 FM on your radio dial.
Line 1, you're on the air. Welcome to Indigenous Resistance Today.
I'd like to know if you felt that you were unnecessarily or unfairly targeted. What happened with Inset coming in, breaking down your door, and they issued some type of a threat.
The comment by the Inset officer was that it would be a shame for our children to have to grow up without parents. When 9/11 had occurred and all of the billions of dollars were coming in to heighten security of our people, the money was rolling in for the RCMP and for Inset. They nabbed a lot of Islamic people that they considered to be extremists throughout this country, throughout the United States. And afterwards, they needed to have justification for further spending, that they started targeting animal rights groups, they started to target indigenous organizations, that these sorts of things may continue further on into the future for us as indigenous people. The search warrant was issued in New Westminster. A sworn affidavit was made by an Inset officer. I have elected to do is look more at the pushing for an internal review of the policies and how it affects Indigenous peoples, and also a review of the process or the approaches that were made by the Inset officers themselves for them to act in that sort of manner. It seemed more like bullying tactics.
Knock down a tree.
to find out that most of this province hasn't been a secret.
The American Indian movement shot to hit in 76 by the FBI.
One is a force of complacency, made up in part who, as a result of long years of oppression, are so drained of self-respect and a sense of somebodiness that they have adjusted to segregation.
God's world.
And in part of a few middle class who, because of a degree of academic and economic security, because in some ways they profit by segregation, have become insensitive to the problems of the masses. The other force is one of bitterness and hatred, and it comes perilously close to advocating violence across the nation, nourished by the frustration over the continued existence of racial discrimination. This movement is made up of people who have lost faith, who have absolutely repudiated Christianity, and who have concluded that the white man is an incorrigible devil. I have tried to stand between these two forces, saying that we need emulate neither the do-nothingism of the complacent nor the hatred and despair, for that is a more excellent way of love than nonviolent protest. I am grateful to God. The way of nonviolence became an integral part of our struggle. If this philosophy had not emerged, by now many streets of the South would, I am convinced, be flowing with blood. And I am further convinced that if our white brothers dismiss as rabble-rousers and outside agitators those of us who employ nonviolent direct action, and if they refuse to support our nonviolent efforts, millions will, out of frustration and despair, seek solace and security in ideologies, a development that would inevitably lead to a frightening racial nightmare. Oppressed people cannot remain depressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself. So the question is not whether we will be extremists, but what kind of extremists we will be. Will we be extremists for hate or for love? Will we be extremists for the preservation of injustice or for the extension of justice? We must never forget that all three were crucified for the same crime, the crime of extremism. Two were extremists for immorality. The other, Jesus Christ, was an extremist for love, truth, and goodness, and thereby rose above his environment. Perhaps the South, the nation, and the world are in dire need of creative extremists. I suppose I should have realized that few members of the oppressor race can understand passionate yearnings of the oppressed race, and still fewer have the vision to see that injustice must be rooted out by strong, persistent, and determined action, and who will remain true to it as long as the cords of life shall lengthen. When I was suddenly catapulted into the leadership of the bus protest in Montgomery, Alabama a few years ago, I felt we would be supported by the white church. But this never came through. All too many ministers found themselves more cautious than courageous and remained silent behind the safe security of stained glass windows.
Blessed us with life that has no end, eternal life with you.
Any
that the reconstructed culture literally reconstructed from how they constructed us, they'll reconstructed with pure plastics. They pay those big money in plastics. They'll reify their stations by making them put more money into the thing that they have to build by using plastics to fucking blow them up.
Listening to your stuff there, all you Indians, if you all start acting like human beings instead of animals, we can all get along. This is Canada. We want our life back. Stop paying for all you Indians.
Well, I'm sorry, it's stuff everywhere, especially Bosley and Chiapas.
What do we do with Chinatown? What do we do with Maine and Hastings?
Cultures.
What do we do with all the brothers and sisters that never benefit off the spoils of the rich white
It's an
man?
American thing.
Go to hell.
Sounds like a really nice guy. Hey.
We have another caller.
And who are we talking to, sir?
Name doesn't matter. This land claim thing must be resolved. Truth is being told.
My wife as it goes by as it drives the street hall, thinking of suicide, and at the same time I could only think of my two friends that are in the car. Should I kill them? No, I'll get her mad now. Or should I get them off the car and kill myself? Oh, what a way to go. Drive myself right into the Pacific. Or if I can go out with a splash, I'll take a Quaalude, I'll take a Valium, I'll take a fucking, I'll take a shot of fucking Tennessee Williams, Tennessee Turkey whiskey, whatever they call that shit. Shoot it right in my head.
He's now on the road, all the way from the farm to the city of New York City. Play the blues.
There's a tribute, or the wake song. Oh, wake for Willie. All right, okay. Then he's okay. He's going on to higher ground. Hooray for Willie! Oh, Willie. Well, you know, I don't know.
Do you want to watch it on television right now?
The way to solve the AIM problem is to shoot the AIM leaders. And the direct quote that I took down at the time was, put a bullet in the guy's head and he won't bother you anymore.
You can go, throw, knock Lisa around and then just kind of forget about it, right? I'm a man.
Yeah, I never did anything to her that she hasn't done to me. Everybody makes me out like I'm some kind of a bad person. Just a man trying to earn a living, get a job done.
Swallowing your alcohol.
So what are you going to do? You want to be a videographer? You want to be an interviewer? Do you want to be an actor? Do you want to be a writer? You want to make things. You want to interview people. Fuck, why do you want to interview me? No one fucking knows Willie Frentcheater.
I think you're photoshopped. Because Barbara said that you have this aura, and I know you have this aura.
I mean, you're out there on the front lines of Oka, driving around town.
I wasn't at the fucking front lines of Oka. I tried to get there. They wouldn't let me in.
I'm in town. Could you leave a message for me on my VP and get in? Bye.
Lisa's just going to use you and cut you loose later.
Maybe it's going to be cut up, like you take that tape and just cut me up and, cut out what you want, cut out what you want in. Hey, what do you want? Fucking goddamn assimilation process, goddamn social, cultural, political reality of fucking sticking fucking Indians into fucking no man's land. Yeah, you want to know that. You want to know that. You want to know
You want to know crushing up T's and R's to get a quick fix, copying a $50 trick, you know.
You know, you say, you know,
Meanwhile,
you want to be a Redskin, but
thrown into some fucking trash can in the East End. Getting your vagina cut off, you want to know what that's like? You know,
so we got to actually, I was thinking of getting maybe some,
mankind,
some
humankind,
Semtex or something like that. Get about 20 cans of Semtex, just pound them around the Canada place, right?
Yeah, well.
And the next American cruise ship that comes in.
Meaning that comes out of anything for people that exist in this popular culture. Dead wrong. Is that what turns people off? You know, watching a movie, but
blown apart. Bow!
It's some sweet grass.
We need more than that. There are treatment facilities in this town that might be able to help you out.
Oh, you joker. I go back 2 years later, I go to Montreal, I go to Ottawa, I fucking check it out, hey man, what's it mean to be a native Canadian?
I don't want to turn that fucking thing off.
Turn it off, I said. Okay, just turn it fucking off.
It has stolen prophecies how our children would carry the altar where our elders fell weak. And the voices of 1,000 songs and 1,000 languages, and it's the prophecies that they would look to the red man of the Turtle Island for the strength of the world and the protection of the world community. In the voices of 1,000 languages in the world over, and has been told that our children would have to carry the burden of the sins of all mankind against the peace of all life. And it is prophesied, and we thank the relations and the spirit of our ancestors and the spirit of our children after us and our grandchildren after them. We thank the strength of the spirit of the Holy Mother Earth and the universal power that the gods put us in this position today to make our nation stronger, that we know no weakness. With the sacred breath of the Creator in each of these runners' footsteps and every breath that they take. In the highest of your honor, thank you for your time.
And why don't you go to sweat, man?
I break out a sweat every time I hear you're coming over.
Jungle time. Jungle time. Jungle time. Go back. Go back.
And a surveyor by the name of O'Reilly who basically said that if the smallpox doesn't get him, the alcohol will. Of the Shuswap people here. And when I saw the degree of racism and colonialism that has been going on, that goes on in this province here, and found out that this process is only 137 years old, as opposed to the 505 years we've been fighting it in the East, and having clear knowledge and an assessment of all of the deceitful methods and means they employ to colonize territories, to expropriate and extrapolate resources, and to imprison a people and disenfranchise them and relocate them and to perpetuate nothing but the overt forces of genocide. I was amazed the degree of colonialism and racist colonization that is perpetuated in this province. And I was more amazed to find out that most of this province hasn't been ceded by treaty. Why must we suffer at the hands of a few who wish to control, who wish to become richer by the day, and to dominate the oppressed peoples of the world? This is proposition that we are unconquered people and do not have the right to control our own lands and exercise this thing called sovereignty and self-determination. These are questions we've had to ask ourselves, and these are questions that many of us have laid our lives on the line for well over 25, 30 years, and as a matter of fact, we are born into this struggle. We just don't happen upon the struggle, but we are born into the struggle because the dichotomy between the have and the have-nots is laid out before us, and we either decide at some point to make a stance in defense of what is ours, what is natural laws, or we accept as a slave to accept what is not ours, which is not natural law. And I assert to you tonight,
Tear gas. Looks like the car. The 50 tons of tear gas. Cops are coming up again. 1, 2, 3. Squad cars. Don't know how many. 4. Come on! The paddy wagon's here. Step back! One car speeding off towards the village. They're all here. They got their riot gear on. 1, 2, 3. More cop cars from the village.
Because it's very, very hard for people who have grown up in a system which has taught them that this is what the reality is. And particularly when they're looking at First Nations people, that what I see is that people say First Nations people are doing the damage to themselves, that the abuse is self-abuse, and there is no comprehension of the way that the genocide begins and perpetuates itself. And I'm wondering if you can, for me, through your own personal experience,
what perpetuates
give me a sense of the movements
genocide,
as you've experienced them, of genocide, where you could have very easily have ended up, as you've said, in jail or dead, and you have friends and family who have been put in this position. People have been very close to you, so this is not something that is a theoretical or an ideological expression. It's something which has occurred in your life and which you see happening with people and friends around you.
They don't know. They don't have the culture and the language. Right? So why do these human beings degradate their own blood? Right? Why do these human beings tear apart their hearts, metaphorically speaking, and to find some sense of satisfaction for their own worthlessness? Because that's how they feel about themselves. Otherwise, they wouldn't be gangbanging their fucking daughter.
We'd like to hear you later today. We've heard from Chief Becker. Right now. And we'll hear from you soon.
Men, no.
We got time right now.
We want to find out how much time we are guaranteed to be able to speak our voice here. We don't want 5 minutes, we don't want 10 minutes or 15 minutes for you to hear us. We have some presentations that we need to make here this day. We speak for justice, we speak for health, we speak for education, we speak for housing, for our city, for our people that live here in the city.
Come to the fucking camera and be a real person, okay, please? Fuck, you're always looking through that fucking camera. You want to be a real person, okay?
You start to really question our value of how we think and how we rationalize the city and the land. I think with the Oka incident, the Mohawk people were trying to define their relationship to the earth, where the Oka town did want to put up a golf course in a selective area of the Pines. There are a lot of corporate interests that debase the real sort of native ideology for the interests of the majority, for the interests of democracy. And it's ironic that democracy was derived out of the Six Nations Confederacy during the colonial period, during the Romantic of the Revolution and that whole sort of construction of society. For the immigration of people from the third world countries, from Asia. They're all coming to North America because of the quintessence of urbanization, what Eurocentric sort of values that have come out of the European historical realms of consciousness. The colonial aspect of North America. And it's continuing on this day. People say that it's not colonial. Colonialism was 200 years ago. But I refute that and say that colonialism is in the minds and ideas of how people think and how they define history, and how it's all defined within the affirmative culture. There it is. A city. I showed you Oka. The land does have a life. I would like to say that Saskatchewan is pretty darn cold. Nevertheless, it's a contemporary city that deals with the constraints of the economics that govern this country, that govern this province. First Nations people still struggle to survive in this contemporary city, to find their identity where their identity has been lost to the assimilation process of Canadian society.
Yeah, it's been 2 years since I've been in Montreal. I think I'm going to lose it any second now.
If it doesn't happen, then that means I'll just become another lost statistic. I'll just pull the plug and visit my many brothers and sisters that died becoming a percentage for the fucking Canadian and North American government.
Stop that.
My research, people didn't know, well, it wasn't resolved, but it was resolved, but they didn't know where they stood as far as a Native and Canadian society. You know what I mean?
For one thing, I found like about that Oka bit, like a lot of whites around it, they hated natives.
Yeah.
And myself, like I couldn't consider I was a white man because I'm native too, but I knew I was hated from the back, but they don't really say it in my face. I couldn't really say I couldn't approve I choose sides, either take the white side or the native side, just kind of in between.
So would that mean like taking up arms again if it's necessary?
I got nothing against Indians, I'm Indian myself.
Trying to undo the bad medicine that has affected and destabilized my blood. Fixing what we must do in this modern age, understanding the Great Spirit, the lack of spirituality that consists of today.
I guess I go now, okay?
You won't come to a threat with me. You won't set myself in Tokyo.
I'm in
now you
Hinton,
think, you know,
Alberta, of all
because you're
places.
seeing Lisa that you think,
I'm going to cross the globe on my way to Greenland. Look at indigenous cultures.
Well, Lisa's going,
contemporary society.
and where am I going? I don't know, Willie. Where are you going?
Well, here I am.
Not Oka.
Willie French
You have to fight. Get rid of this
in my territory.
You know, someone.
I look at the loggers here,
Keep
and I wonder how they treat the land outside of turning into toilet paper,
You know what? I say we gotta get together. We gotta be one. We gotta love everybody. It is time. It's like it's a time for war.
Humanity. When I think about Oka and Gustafson Lake, I can only see an opposite of cultures.
Kitchi Manitou, getting my time ready. War of the machine. War against the machine. We also get boys and girls from Miigweech. Go back to Granada. The bold of the sick, the bold of life. Star Wars, possible war, return of the Jedi. The return of the prophet. All worlds creep up to us. When the U.S. government drink on the street, die. Here, Copenhagen, down the Greenland Center, June 15, 1999. I have shared some rain days, Inuit people shared tobacco. Now in a marketplace, Danish territory. There's a lot of indigenous resistance here. Thursday, all day. creating some sort of boycott with Denmark regarding whales and seals and whaling issues that are affecting the indigenous people worldwide.
The end of my life now, as we speak. Willie, French-eater, going to his home territory to eat some French people. French-eater.
C'est Willie Frentcheater dans la France, dans le pays France. J'arrive à la continent de Europe and I'm taking pictures of La Françoise and many wooden Indians on this continent. So not many people know about the true reality of indigenous people in Canada and indigenous.
And that's why Oka was always and will always be in the minds of our people and our children, most especially our children, because the children will change the diapers of the ruling class. I'll probably be dead by the time that happens.
Zapatistas, man. They're taking Mexico City. The revolution is on.
So the revolution begins at Fraser's Broadway in Cracktown, you know? Because, you know, I just can't fucking have it, man. Fucking ages.
all between the cracks of society, my brothers and sisters. Shit. So I know what they're going through. So I make this film.
ESS men are not so spick and span now.
What do you think of me now?
7 days of being shouted and cursed at and handling corpses
My best brothers and sisters, you're not here today. As these people are not here today. This is what's going to happen to you when you go to the world. Mark my words, the Great Spirit has told me this in my dreams and in my visions. In the 7 fires, when the east meets west, and the north comes down from the south.
Well, they did attempt to go in there, but they forgot one thing, or there was one thing that they were ignorant of, and that's the fact that that was a spiritual camp. That was a camp that was set up by the sun dancers. And the sun dances had been going on there for a number of years, and those were spiritual people. And they were protected. They were protected against that aggression that came down upon them, and that's how they managed to survive through that.
Okay, well, so here I am, Willie Frentcheater, at the end of the line. That's it, where I am, in the line. Yeah, here I am, dealing with the crack-infested society that we have as Aboriginal people and non-Aboriginal people, because there's crack everywhere. Everybody wants crack because it's a fucked up society that we live in. And crack, I mean rock, cocaine, rock, crack cocaine, smoke until you drop cocaine, that kind of cocaine, Indian cocaine, fly away cocaine. This world is nothing compared to
Translation.
Spirit.
For what song?
Jesus Christ, our Lord, born
Very
Christmas Day.
He died.
Died. Got a body like mine.
Still go on.
You people have to make it.
There seems to be no end.
Listen, I gotta make this film. People after me. The spy agency of Canada is annexing down thesis. I'm gonna kill myself eventually. Something's coming. I do this so I can know my brothers and sisters and what they go through. That's all. I've been at the top of the ladder and I'm at the bottom. And we're always fighting somewhere. And ever since Gustin, Oka, and Ipishwas, and the Georges, and Titsan Reserve outside of Calgary, the system's killing us. And I'm going to kill myself before it kills me. And you know that. Your auntie and your uncle, your grandpa, your grandmother dying in a bed of urine.
You have no right to call me a murderer.
You're not a murderer.
You have a right to kill me.
You're going to murder someone's conscience, perhaps, you know.
You have no right to
your
judge
badgering and your jealousy and your insecurities, because women, especially at least they're not, going your way, right, and all that sort of thing. The demon comes out and all of a sudden you become beside yourself, right? The demon comes out. The straight arrow Howie kind of guy that really wanted to learn, all of a sudden when it gets too big for his britches, he allows himself to swallow his worthlessness.
Grey Cup's coming.
I don't watch football. It's a gladiator sort of spectacle, just to suppress the male emotions or to arise into some sort of primal sort of collective. That's what I see. I don't feel suicidal as I did yesterday.
It's not an answer.
What's that?
That's not an answer.
It has been for a lot of my friends.
People care.
Down in Ottawa, down in Guinness-Doggy, Guinness-Waggy.
Every person affects many people around them.
I can't hear you.
Every person affects many people around them, whether they know it or not, or want to see it.
Probably won't be my last.
It's a little woman now, right?
I feel free.
Right. The Vietnam throwback of the 60s, trying to be a 90s baby boy, right? You think, I know you like a book, right? Because, that's where you learn how to be an Indian, from a book.
So now that it's getting late, the sun has gone down.
So, as you know, calls are monitored and everything, because I know someone else will get me.
CIA now or what?
No, just someone's after me, man. There's people following me.
Slipping into delusion, paranoia.
Turns around too. Look at it. It's turning back around. Guy turns back around.
Yeah, just trying to.
I gotta wear a fun mask over my head,
I know you want it. I can tell.
You what should I do? Correct everything. People be out to get me too.
Outside the city, here in Wreck Beach, right here, where you can take your clothes off, strip. Appreciate the sunset.
The new world. We have moved into total war, exact terror. 26,000 years from nowhere into a wall to fight the system. A tool like crack, perhaps. Paranoia for the savages. You fuckers fucked Marcos, Zapata, lasagna.
Just machines.
Roostagare will happen. I don't care how long it's been taking, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. If Bin Laden can do what he can do, Frenchy can do, and maybe a tenth of that, just for the Aboriginal people. Mind you, the Mohawks did help build those dog buildings, so they have a lot of respect for that, and I understand that. I understand the reality of the 911, but the world's changing, and so we got to change too, whether we like it or not. And the government has to know that we're going to change. We have changed our way of thinking for many generations ahead of us.
Who the hell do you think you are? Some big shot now? You work for a broadcast station, and then you could tell us Indians how to be, right? You see, you've been on the Oka line. You saw all the footage before we did. You must really think you're a hot shot, Lisa. I've had fucking relatives fucking stare down the barrel of a gun and be afraid to pull the trigger. Feather? Genocidal parallels can be identified. You get a T-shirt and you have a genocidal relationship with a Jew. Is that the reality? You're gonna sacrifice your manhood to be one with the Indianness of political correctness?
Say that I think you're a very angry Indian.
that there was a second attack.
Well, some of them started there, but some of them, most of them are really powerful. I had one, I don't know what the protocol is in
the world, man.
Trail of Broken Trees, all these indigenous people meeting and election time, their anniversary would be perfect for this walk from Seattle to DC. Kids will learn about the indigenous impact of global warming.
I see the complete destruction of the
metaphysical statement, philosophical statement. Territory, okay, relax. You know, I'm not out to cause trouble. I live here 22 years, believe me. Sailor's territory. Have a good day, sir.
For the runner, it's our honor for our grandchildren, our children, our grandmothers, our great-grandfathers, and our grandchildren to be amongst the sacred altar of the Peace and Dignity Run, Siam Sitsot Siam. In the spirit of the Unity for Peace and Dignity Run.
For 50 years we didn't have our kills after the experiences. But the irony is a lot of the Scots people that came here ended up being the same people that fucked over the native people.
Until there's justice for our people in French, English, Spanish, or